What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Joe here at Odyssey Off-Road. We got the Beta X Pro out on the trail today and wanted to talk about this suspension, the forks particularly, because to be quite honest, you know, when I got the bike, I was taking a dealer's word for it. I was taking, you know, people's opinions online's word for it on how it was. And, you know, you don't really know till you have something and you use it in your trail conditions, how it's going to be for you. And so now that I got some time on them, you know, I got about 10 hours on it, kind of got a pretty good idea on how these forks are. And I'm pretty happy with them, I got to tell you. What I was looking for with this bike was, you know, coming off the WRs, which are very rigid, stiff bikes. I wanted something just soft, compliant. Even if that meant bottoming out a time or two, you know, once or twice, I'd rather have that than be beat up the whole ride. So, and I got to tell you, I've been pleasantly surprised with these forks. Today I was out testing some different suspension settings. And let's talk about what these forks are first, because a lot of people aren't really quite sure. And so they says SHC on the fork, separate hydraulic chamber. And what that means is, unlike some of the other forks on the market, you know, the KYBs, the WP stuff, what you have is you have a spring only in the right fork leg. And then the left fork leg does your rebound and compression settings. So if you look at the forks on the top here, this clicker here, it's all hand clickers on the left side. So on this clicker here, this is your rebound. So obviously turning it in clockwise, just like anything else, it's going to slow down the fluid flow, make the rebound slower. The same clicker like that on the bottom of the fork leg, that is your compression. And, you know, you have your about 25 clicks or so of compression dampening. I think it's 22, if I remember correctly, total clicks. So, and then the right fork leg is your spring. So you only have a spring on the right side, and you can, unlike some other forks, being in this type of setup, you can actually set your preload on the fork spring with this. Now, the way it comes from the factory, it's this nut is all the way out. The further you go in, it just pushes down on top of the spring and adds a little preload to it. I've left that alone. I haven't played with it. I've only played with the clickers on the left side of the fork. So that's that stock setting right now, which is all the way out, flush with the cap. And that's just an Allen. It's the Allen that comes with the toolkit with the Beta that you can carry in your backpack. Is for that, fits in there. So stock settings on the fork are 11 clicks out rebound and 11 clicks out compression. That's standard settings by the book. When I say by the book, if you buy one of these bikes, any Beta, I suggest you don't use the owner's manual that comes on the little USB drive they give you, because they're usually outdated and a lot of the information tends to be inaccurate on them. Go to the Beta USA website and you can download the latest manual from there. I have seen some discrepancies, so download that manual from the website. That's the most accurate one. You can also download unlike other manufacturers, you can actually download the repair manual from Beta. So download those, and you'll see in there your fork settings for standard settings and rear shock settings. It gives you the standard settings. Start with that, and I rode it with that almost the whole time I've had it till today. I kind of played with it around a little bit. When I first went out, I went in 5 clicks. I kind of wanted to see what extremely stiffening them up would do and what extremely softening them up would do. I can tell you that the clicker settings, even though it's only on one side, makes a drastic difference. You can really feel the difference in the settings. I'm not good enough to notice 1 or 2 clicks, so I usually go extreme, 3, 4, 5 clicks, and then kind of you can fine tune from there. And I make my adjustments. But that's just me, you know, I'm not a suspension guru. I can't feel every little thing that it's doing. I just know, hey, this feels more comfortable, this doesn't. So, you know, I'm just an average weekend warrior, dirt bike guy, so not a pro. So, but these forks here, you know, so this is on the, they only come on the X Pro. If you get the race edition, you know, betas, you get the KYB stuff. I didn't want that because for me personally, I had the KYBs on the album. It's very stiff. And that's a lot of people complain about that on the betas as well, that the KYBs are a little rigid and stiff. So I wanted to take a chance and go with the Sachs, you know, SHC forks. These are new for 2025 and up. So if you have a previous generation beta, so 24 and below, you have the old Sachs ZF forks where you have, it's like a traditional fork. You have preload, you have you know, springs on both sides and compression rebound on both fork legs, like, you know, traditional forks would have, like KYBs do, and Showa suspension. So this isn't a new setup either. Showa actually had a setup like this years ago. They were on some Kawasaki's and some Suzuki's. They ran it for a few years. People didn't like them. They moved away from them rather quick. So when Beta said, hey, we're coming out with this style fork on this bike, there was a lot of people saying, oh, this is not going to be good. Other manufacturers have tried this in the past and it's junk, doesn't work good. But I got to tell you, coming from, like I said, the Yamahas, which are pretty rigid, this bike is much more compliant of a suspension. It does everything really, really well. Now, I wanted to test it more on, like I said, I've been running on the base settings, which is 11 out, 11 on both rebound and compression in the front. And so when I first hit the trail today, I left my house. I was doing the faster section in the lower desert. I really I stiffened them up. So I went in an additional 5 clicks on rebound and compression, really slowed down the fluid flow. I only did 3 in on the, so I did 3 more clicks in on the rebound, but I turned the compression in 5. So I was only 5 out total on compression and 8 out on the rebound. And I was going a good pace, hitting some, you know, square edges and stuff in the desert. And you can really feel the handling characteristics change on the bike. It really makes a big, big difference. Stiffened it up enough so where when you hit the big stuff, you don't feel like it's blowing through, and it feels more sporty. I would say it almost reminded me a little bit of the KYBs on the WR when I had them softened up quite a bit. So it was kind of that's brought it to that spectrum for me, which was nice, which is perfect for anything. If I'm any type of fast-paced ride, I'm going to do that's as fast as it's going to get, hard as it's going to get, and so it handled that very, very well. So when I made my way through up to the mountains, I was going through this mountain pass, which is a lot of washboard, embedded rocks in the ground. And I said, okay, well, let's go the opposite way. So I knew once I went through, I was going to make a turn, and I was going to do a real slower pace, chunky trail. And I wanted to see how the suspension would react with a really soft setting. So I put the clickers out back to stock, 11 out, 11 on both rebound and compression. Turned them out an additional 5 from there on both rebound and compression. So now I was 16 clicks out compression and 16 clicks out on rebound. And I'll tell you, when you're going, you know, slower stuff, that setting, it is butter. Like you don't feel any of the little, like there's a lot of this out here. You see how you're going down the road, it's hard pack, or you're going down a trail, I should say, it's hard pack. But the rocks are like embedded in the ground and they're just all over it. So you just hit that stuff and it's just constantly hitting it. And on the WR, that stuff honestly would beat me up a little bit. And then you get a lot of that. And then you get a lot of washboardy stuff from the rain. And it would just, oh, my arms and shoulders, back of my neck would be killing me doing that ride on WR. And man, with this setting, you know, you're going slow enough, you know, between 20, 30 miles an hour, I would say, through that stuff. You don't even feel it. It just eats it up. really, really nice. And then when I got to a more technical chunky trail, which you'll see a video out on I have, it just was absolutely amazing. It's going to be the perfect setting for like a more of an enduro. If you're going to do a lot of enduro stuff, maybe a little more hard enduro, or some really chunky single track, it'd be absolutely butter on that. So awesome. So I'm really happy with the versatility of the forks that way. I think they're great. So, you know, is the KYB's better option for you? That's something you're going to have to decide based on what you're going to do with the bike. If you're really going to ride like really hard and aggressive, and you hit obstacles hard and aggressively, and you're not a slower paced rider, you don't take your time going through obstacles, you attack them and you hit them hard, the KYB stuff may be what's best for you in that circumstance. But I gotta say, I think these would be fine as well for almost everybody. I think a lot of times people decide, I want to get the race edition, like, you know, and they don't really take a good look at themselves and think about what type of rider they really are. I think a lot of people think that they're better riders than they are, whereas opposite of me. I tell you guys, I know I'm not that great a rider, and sometimes maybe I make myself out to be worse than I am. But, you know, some people think they're the next Graham Jarvis, and they need the top of the line stuff and all that stuff. So, you know, but I've heard even those guys, you know, they get the bikes with the KYB stuff, and then what do? They revalve them and make them softer. So, and then you're at kind of where you're off stock here with these forks. So depends on the riding you're going to do. If you're going to be doing a lot of really fast, hard stuff, then maybe go with KYB stuff. But for 95% of people, I think these forks are going to be terrific. They're going to be great. They're going to be just what you need. If you're a trail rider and, you know, that's what you do. You do a lot of exploratory riding. You do a lot of rough single track, maybe, slower technical stuff. Even open desert stuff, which I do a lot of, you guys know. And you're not, you know, too hard and aggressive, this will be perfect. Even if you are a little bit aggressive, you turn the clickers in like I did this morning, and it ate stuff up just fine. The one thing I will say is, when you have the clickers out to the softer setting, and then you do hit a square edge or something like that, you are going to feel it a lot more. So it suffers, and it'll suffer in those instances where you'll be going, you're hitting all this little stuff and it feels great, and then you hit a really big G out or a square edge and you feel it, you know. You get to the bottom, you know, top of the bottom third of the stroke, and it'll feel a little harsh in that one particular hit that it takes. But then the rest of the stuff is smooth. It's a give and take, you know. There's no one suspension setting. It's like any fork that's going to be perfect for every condition. If you're going to do a variety of stuff, you kind of got to find, and you don't want to play around with them all day, you just find a happy medium that'll work on most of the stuff that you're doing that day, and stick with it, you know. For me, I went with the softer setting through all this stuff, and it was absolutely awesome. Next week, we're going to be doing some single track with Scott up in the Phoenix area, and I think I'm going to use that softer setting on that, and it'll be awesome. But yeah, I'm happy with the forks, guys. I think they're really, really good for what they are. They're not a high-end, you know, KYB show of stuff, but you know what? They do the job. They're not junk. They're really good, and you know, separate hydraulic chamber. You know, so a lot of people didn't know what that was. Seems to be a lot of questions about it. A lot of people aren't sure what bike to get, so I kind of want to throw this video together, some of my experience on them, and I'm happy with them. I'm happy with my choice. I'm happy I went with this over the race edition with the KYBs, because, you know, the last thing I wanted to do is get in another bike where it's really harsh and beat me up. This bike doesn't beat me up at all. It's really compliant. Suspension's really, really good. I'd rather have, like I said, a suspension where it's gonna maybe bottom out or take one or two hits hard, but the rest of the stuff, you know, 90% of the stuff feels compliant and doesn't beat you up on all this little choppy stuff. I'd rather have that than something that's really stiff and you get a beating on all day long. And this bike, I get off it. If I'm going to be closing in on 40 miles today, and I don't feel beat up, I don't feel sore. I feel good. I feel like I go another 40. So that's it, guys. Real quick one. I don't want to keep rambling, but that's my experience with these SHC ZF forks from Beta on the X Pro. Again, they're available on the 25s and up. X Pros, 25 and up, you know, race editions, just like they always have been, have the KYBs. So that's it, guys. It's Joe at Odyssey Off-Road. Stay tuned for more footage, more videos, more content on the Beta and everything else we got on the channel. Smash that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, and hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video. Check out the all the links in the video description. Help support the channel, including our merch store and affiliate links. And we'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.